Parliament will pass a similar act. Member for Melbourne Ports, Michael Danby, welcome.
Thanks very much, Michael. What a nice introduction.
Well, we need that legislation in Australia?
I think we will, because if we're going to affect people in Russia and China and all of these places that engage in these corrupt and human rights abuses, in order to stop the transfer of these things, we're going to need to have it in all Western democratic countries. So some Russian oligarch that parks his money in London and now can't because Mrs May passed that legislation, despite all of the Brexit madness, which we're going to get to later, they might want to park it here in Australia. We've got to stop it.
And so this is going to stop Mugabe's children coming here, or officials of corrupt officials in Zimbabwe and other countries from coming here and studying.
The Chinese viceroy in East Turkestan, or Xinjiang as they call it, who has put the million Muslim Uyghurs in concentration camps. Or
the wife or family members or associates of the Russians who may have been involved in the shooting down of the plane.
Exactly. And Australia's got a real stake in that, hasn't it? Because 38 Australians were murdered on the shoot down of MH17.
Correct. So the idea is to give power to whom to make this decision, because you can, of course, have sanctions, you can have exclusion orders already. So what this is a piece of legislation which gives the executive or the foreign minister or the committee of cabinet, national security committee, whatever, or on advice from ASIO or whoever, the right to simply say you're not coming to Australia, nor are your family, nor are you using the banking system in this country.
Well, that's exactly what Mrs May did after the Skripal murders. This is what President Obama and President Trump, to his credit, has continued, and Mr Trudeau in Canada. So these people are named, and it has a real effect. You know, if you can't go to the nightclubs in Chelsea and can't have a house in Kensington or a bank account in the Gold Coast or Ontario, it's tough if you're a Russian oligarch.
Or a son of a Libyan dictator. Of course, Gaddafi's kids were notorious for partying frequently in the Caribbean during the summer months at great expense to the Libyan people. So essentially what you've got here is, if we extrapolate this, you've got security agencies around the world sharing information about who should not be allowed into the country. And as you say, the big issue here is follow the money. So if you deny them access to the banking system in the West, you give them a massive headache. There's nowhere for them to go.
And what it does is it enables us to have some democratic pushback on all of these authoritarian countries that love making use of the democratic West to park their dough, to go for holidays, to enjoy the rule of law. But they behave in appalling ways in their own country that are a direct offence to us. And we don't have to go to war with them. We don't even have to sanction all of their people. The ordinary person in Russia should be able to continue to eat Australian lamb. Sam Kakovich will be very happy.
Now, what everyone at home is thinking is, why haven't the French passed this law? I know what you're all thinking. So the French and the Germans have it on their agenda for the governments that have passed similar legislation. We've got at the minute America, the UK, Canada, the Baltic states.
Yeah. And perhaps in a response to Brexit, the entire European community is considering it. So it's not just the Germans and the French.
Considering it. Well, hopefully they'll get it done.
Yeah.
But of course, when you talk about the money trail, that leaves one country that it's vital passes this legislation, because we understand Putin is an infrequent visitor to Switzerland. Why he would want to go there? Might like skiing, who knows? He might want to see how get the trains in Moscow to run on time. Some suspicious people in the international community think that Putin goes there for other reasons, which is that he may have huge amounts of cash stashed in Switzerland. Surely the holy grail of this legislation ultimately is have international pressure on the Swiss not to deal with these people as well, and to get them to pass a similar act, because without the Swiss, you can't cut off the money flow.
You're rightly a suspicious and cynical person, Michael, in this particular case. But the history of tragic process and background with Switzerland is that it's not going to happen. I mean, they hid Nazi assets, they hid people, resources that were grabbed during the Second World War, and kept them for 40 years, no revelations, etc. So I think you're right to focus on them, but I don't think we're going to get far with them.
No. Ultimately, perhaps the UN could pass a motion or two putting some pressure on some of these other countries as well. Anyway.
Particularly Switzerland.
Particularly Switzerland. Perhaps they could do that instead of passing motions.
Not just those cuckoo clocks we're concerned.
Correct. Well, it would make a change for them passing motions criticising Israel every second day. So anyway, Michael, thank you for that. Michael's going to stay for the show, and mate, good luck with that piece of legislation. I gather it's before the Parliament. It's been raised with the Prime Minister and the leadership in the Labor Party, and very best of luck with it. A very worthwhile
and
piece
even
of
the
legislation.
crossbenchers.
And even the crossbenchers. Well, let's hope they do the right thing on something like this. We're now going to